2019 may well be the year for 1-inch compact cameras because Sony just dropped an absolute bombshell with the Sony RX100 VII. And we're going to see whether this camera may well be the best vlogging camera of all time. By the way, you have noticed that we're adding the table of contents to the side of our videos. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Now moving on to the Sony RX100 VII, really the only main physical difference between the Mark VI and the Mark VII is the addition of the external microphone port on the side. In terms of any other physical differences, there really isn't any. You've got the same 180 flip screen, the same 24 to 200mm zoom lens. However, it does now have a 4-stop image stabilization in it. You've got the same controls, same battery, you've got the same USB and HDMI ports on the side. Now the addition of the 3.5mm external mic jack is a big difference and a welcomed change into the Mark VII. As you would know, the RX100 is used a lot by vloggers, so now you can get good external audio to pair up with the 4K and Full HD video that the RX100 produces. So let's talk about this Sony RX100 Mark VII for photos. It houses a 1-inch 20.1 megapixel sensor combined with a Bayern's X image processor. And one of the most interesting things about the RX100 Mark VII is that it borrows elements from their top tier full frame camera, the Sony A9. So on the inside of the camera, it's got like an algorithm that replicates like the Sony A9 when it works out autofocusing. So you can autofocus as fast as 0.02 seconds on its brand new 357 face detection point system. And in addition to that, you can shoot 20 frames per second with no blackout, which is basically the same as the Sony A9. For those who like shooting fast and a lot of burst, the RX100 Mark VII still has that anti-distortion shutter, which allows you to shoot at 1/32,000th of a second, and in addition has 2 pretty cool new burst modes. So as I mentioned before, like the A9, it does do a 20 frames per second blackout-free continuous shooting, but one of the cooler ones is that it has a single frame burst mode that can shoot at around 90 frames per second. Now what this mode allows you to do is create some pretty cool seamless burst shooting. What you'll see is a collection of shots that we've done that kind of replicate what an Instagram boomerang or what you can get from shooting high frame rate video. Okay, so now I'm going to test the video components of the RX100 Mark VII. Like the RX100 Mark VI, it can record 4K video up to 30 frames per second and slow motion Full HD up to 120 frames per second. Now, one of the most interesting things I want to test about the RX100 Mark VII is the autofocus performance. As in the RX100 Mark VII, it has real-time tracking, animal detection, which if we find some birds, we'll do a bit of testing on it. But most importantly, it has continuous eye autofocus in video, similar to the A7R Mark IV. So right now, we're going to be using the in-camera audio just to see how the microphone performs outside. And then we're now going to switch into the external microphone. So right now I'm testing using the external audio source. I've got a Saramonic lapel mic plugged directly into the camera's 3.5mm jack. And what I've noticed is the audio is really sensitive in terms of its levels. I've got it all the way down to 1 for it to be of an acceptable level. So it's extremely sensitive, and keep that in mind. Now the camera doesn't have is a hot shoe, so if you're going to mount something like a Rode Video Micro or any kind of shotgun mic, you'll need to get some kind of L bracket or bracket just to keep it on the camera. So my final thoughts on the Sony RX100 Mark VII. As an upgrade, there isn't really that much physically upgraded in the RX100 Mark VII apart from the 3.5mm mic jack. Now there's still a couple issues with it. For example, it still uses a micro USB port. As most cameras now are changing to a USB-C port, it would be nice to see that, as well as some ergonomic differences such as a deeper grip or the movement of this record button because it's a bit awkward to use. However, the internal hardware changes such as the brand new autofocus system makes it a really big difference, especially for people who are vlogging and just general all-round use. Now you're going to be getting better image stabilization, some cool features such as your super fast 90 frames per second burst modes, and pretty good tracking in autofocus as well, which will make it a quite attractive camera for the masses as well as content creators. Now, if you have any questions on the Sony RX100 VII, pop them in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog, which links to those are in our description below to stay up to date with what's going on in store and also with our latest events and workshops. As always, if you enjoyed our video, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future updates as we upload videos weekly.